Thank you for visiting Nancy's Classic Bedtime Stories. We're continuing in William F. Buckley Jr.'s Let Us Talk of Many Things, the Collected Speeches. We begin. The Lonely Professor. Remarks at a testimonial dinner for O. Glenn Saxon, the Taft Hotel, New Haven, Connecticut, May 22nd, 1961. This testimonial speech is one of a dozen that will be included in this collection. It was given at a small dinner honoring Professor Saxon, the lone active free market economist at Yale in the late 1940s and the 1950s. Yale did not exercise the option to continue him active after he reached retirement age. A few undergraduates put the dinner together and invited me and other speakers to record our feelings about Glenn Saxon. Professor Saxon was the nearest thing to an omnipresence I ever knew. He made Yale unsafe for economic presumption. You could never tell when one of the current economic myths traveling about the campus, drawing applause from all the little apprentice social magicians, would turn a corner, bump into Glenn Saxon, and die a miserable death. Occasionally, our beleaguered conservative forces needed a massive display of strength, and we would summon forth our Big Bertha and put Mr. Saxon publicly on display before, say, the political union. There he would pronounce the verities, and, as it was said of Timothy Dwight doing battle against paganism in the early days of his tenure at Yale, infidelity would skulk and hide its head, and reanimated those of us who were convinced of the interrelationship of economic freedom and freedom could go about our business with the unique confidence that comes from knowing that the champion of your ideas has met the challenger and is still champion. During those years, it was fashionable to call Mr. Saxon a long list of derogatory names, usually calculated to stress the anachronism of his ideas. It was far safer to say simply that Saxon was a troglodyte, whence it follows that his ideas have not seen the daylight, than to put up the opposing ideas side by side with his to see which in fact reflected the greater light. Some students, I grant, were afraid of Mr. Saxon. For one thing, there is that face. When it is tense, there is no face in the literature of determination to match it. Michelangelo's depiction of Hercules writhing in his labors, Rodin's Perseus slaying the monster, mere milky toasts by contrast with that face standing up to economic heresy. I never knew a student who complained of being treated meanly by him. I wish I could say I never knew a student who treated him meanly. In argument, he was intense, but not unyielding. I once heard a student ask him, "Don't you admit the New Deal was right in setting up the SEC?" To which he retorted grandly, "Even a stopped clock is right twice a day." His truths are his truths, his demonstrations, his demonstrations, his experiences, his experiences. And the question was less whether these were valid truths, profound demonstrations, relevant experiences, than whether a great university would have the generosity to treat a scholar, a gentleman, and a dissident generously. I think Yale, if I may use a collectivity in Mr. Saxon's presence, failed, but not thanks largely to the students who organized this dinner. Wholly. A part of Yale is here tonight to say to him, "For so long as we live, we shall not forget your courage, or the force of your devotion, or the arena in which you fought." The end.